been driving for almost 12 years now. Never had a serious accident. Never been pulled over for anything worse than a busted tail light. I consider myself careful. Patient, even. But I learned something that night on Route 42 that I wish I didn't know. I learned that being careful doesn't matter when someone else decides you're the problem. It started over nothing. A merge. I was coming off the on-ramp, doing maybe 55, signaling early like you're supposed to. The highway wasn't crowded, just scattered headlights in both directions. I checked my mirror, saw a black pickup about 4 car lengths back in the right lane, and started to ease over. He accelerated, not gradually, hard, like he'd been waiting for me to try it. His headlights flooded my mirror and he laid on the horn, long and angry. I jerked back into the merge lane and he blew past me doing at least 80, close enough that I felt the air pressure shift. I figured that was it. Some guy having a bad day. I merged behind him and kept my distance. 5 seconds later, his brake lights flared red and he slowed to 40. I moved to pass him on the left. He drifted into my lane. Not all the way, just enough that I had to brake and fall back. When I did, he slowed down again. 35 now, on a 60-mile-per-hour highway. That's when I knew it wasn't over. I tried dropping back further, putting space between us. He slowed to match. I could see him watching me in his side mirror. The road ahead was empty. No other cars, just me and him in a stretch of asphalt that suddenly felt a lot longer than it should have. I thought about turning off at the next exit. But the next exit was 9 miles away. I'd driven this route 100 times. I knew every turnoff, every rest stop. And right now there was nothing but woods on both sides and a dotted yellow line I couldn't cross because of oncoming traffic. He slowed to 25. My hands were starting to sweat. I tried to calm down, tried to tell myself he'd get bored, that this was just some weird power trip and he'd eventually speed up and disappear. Then his reverse lights came on. He was backing up on the highway at night, coming right at me. I slammed the car into reverse and started backing up too, but he was faster, committed. I cranked the wheel and backed onto the shoulder, gravel spraying under my tires. He stopped about 10 feet in front of me, his truck angled across both lanes now, blocking everything. I sat there, engine idling. Heart doing something I've never felt before, not panic exactly, something colder, more certain. His door opened. He stepped out slowly. Big guy. Jeans and a hoodie. He didn't yell, didn't make a show of it. He just started walking toward my car with his hands loose at his sides. His face was calm. That's what I remember most. How calm he looked. I locked my doors. Stupid, I know, like that was going to help. But it was all I could think to do. Where are you watching from, and are you watching alone? Subscribe and stay. He stopped at my window, leaned down, looked right at me. Close enough that I could see the stubble on his jaw and a thin scar above his left eyebrow. He smiled. Not friendly. Just acknowledging something. Then he straightened up and walked back to his truck. I thought he was leaving. I let myself believe it for maybe 3 seconds. He reached into his cab and pulled out a tire iron. I threw my car into drive and floored it onto the shoulder and the tires spinning in the gravel. I swerved around his truck and back onto the highway. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel straight. I checked the mirror. He was getting back in his truck. I pushed my car up to 90, 100. The engine whined, but I didn't care. I just needed distance. I needed to get somewhere with lights, with people. The next exit sign appeared. 6 miles. His headlights appeared behind me, distant at first, then closer. He was matching my speed, not gaining, just keeping pace, letting me know he was still there. I grabbed my phone and tried to dial 911 with one hand. My fingers kept missing the buttons. When I finally got it, the call connected, but the signal was cutting in and out. I heard a woman's voice say something about my location, and then the line went dead. 5 miles to the exit. He was closer now and maybe 3 car lengths back. I could see the outline of his truck, the shape of his head through the windshield. I thought about what I'd do if he rammed me, if the car spun out, if I ended up in the ditch or wrapped around a tree. I thought about my sister finding out, about her asking why I didn't just pull over, why I didn't stay calm. 4 miles. He turned his high beams on. The light was blinding. I couldn't see anything in the mirror except white glare. I tilted it away, but it didn't help. The light filled the whole cabin, and I was driving blind at 90 miles per hour with a man I didn't know 6 feet off my bumper. The exit appeared. I took it too fast. The tires screamed and the back end swung wide, but I held it. The off-ramp curved down into a 2-lane access road. There was a gas station up ahead. Lights on. A couple of cars parked out front. I checked the mirror. He took the exit too. I pulled into the gas station and parked right in front of the window where the attendant could see me. I didn't get out. I just sat there with the engine running and my hand on the gear shift, ready to move if I had to. He pulled in behind me. Same spot, same distance. He didn't turn off his engine either. We sat like that for maybe 2 minutes. Him watching me watching him in the mirror. The attendant inside looked up once, then went back to his phone. And then the man in the truck raised his hand. A small wave, almost polite, and he backed out. Slow, deliberate. He pulled onto the access road and drove away, not speeding, just cruising. Like nothing had happened. I waited until I couldn't see his taillights anymore. Then I waited another 10 minutes. I went inside and bought a coffee I didn't drink. Told the attendant I was fine when he asked if I needed anything. I got back on the highway and drove the rest of the way home, doing exactly the speed limit. When I pulled into my driveway, I saw it. Tucked under my windshield wiper, a piece of paper folded once. I don't know when he put it there. Maybe at the gas station while I was inside. Maybe earlier when I wasn't looking. It doesn't matter. I opened it. It was a receipt from a tire shop, dated that same day, and written across the bottom in blue pen, "See you around." I still have it. I keep it in my glove box. I tell myself it's so I won't forget. So I'll stay alert. But the truth is, I look at it every time I get in my car, because I need to remind myself that he's still out there. And he knows what I drive. I never reported it. What would I even say? That someone followed me and left a note? That's not a crime. Not technically. And I didn't get his plate number. I didn't get anything except the feeling that I'd been chosen for something, tested maybe, or marked. I still take the same route to work, same highway. But now every black pickup makes my chest tighten. Every pair of headlights that stays behind me too long. Every merge where someone doesn't let me in, because I know now that it doesn't take much. Just 1 second where you exist in front of the wrong person. 1 moment where you do something they decide is disrespectful. And after that, it doesn't matter how careful you are. They'll find a way to remind you. The weight of what happened doesn't hit you right away. It comes later, in quiet moments, when you're trying to sleep and you remember the shape of someone's headlights in your mirror. When you realize that the person you love most is marked by someone you've never met, someone who knows their name. I was 17 when I got my license. My dad made me take the test 3 times before he'd let me drive alone. He said the roads were full of people who didn't value life the way they should. I thought he was being dramatic, overprotective. I didn't understand what he meant until the night I had to choose between my brother and a stranger. It was late, after midnight. I was driving Mateo home from a party he shouldn't have been at. He was 15, drunk enough that he could barely sit up straight. I wasn't supposed to cover for him, but he called me panicking and I couldn't just leave him there. The road back was empty, a 2-lane state route that cut through farmland. No streetlights, just high beams and the occasional reflector post. Mateo had his head against the window, half asleep. I was going 60 in a 55, just trying to get us home before our parents woke up. That's when the car appeared. It came out of a side road without slowing. No headlights. Just a dark shape that merged behind me and immediately climbed onto my bumper. Close. It's so close I could see the grille in my rear view. A sedan. Old. The front bumper dented and hanging slightly off-center. I tapped my brakes. A warning, hoping they'd back off. They didn't. I sped up to 65. They matched. I slowed to 50. They slowed too. Staying right there. Inches off my bumper. I couldn't see the driver, couldn't make out anything through the windshield except a vague silhouette. Mateo stirred. What's going on? Nothing, go back to sleep. But my voice cracked, and he sat up. He turned around and looked through the back window. Why are they so close? I don't know. The car behind us flashed its brights 3 times, fast, aggressive. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what they wanted. I switched lanes even though there was no one else on the road. They switched too. Stayed locked on. Mateo's voice was small now. Scared. Maybe we should pull over. No. I don't know why I said it so fast. Instinct maybe, or something my dad had drilled into me about never stopping on empty roads. Either way, I kept driving. The car behind us accelerated hard, pulled into the oncoming lane like they were going to pass. I felt a flicker of relief. I eased off the gas to let them by. They didn't pass. They pulled up alongside me, matched my speed exactly. I glanced over. The windows were tinted, dark enough that I couldn't see inside. But I could see the car now. Primer gray sedan. Rust spots along the door. And as I watched, the passenger window started to roll down. I didn't wait to see what came next. I floored it. My car lurched forward, 70, 80. The engine screamed, and Mateo grabbed the dashboard. What are you doing? Hold on. The sedan accelerated too. Stayed right next to me. The window was halfway down now. I could see movement inside. Someone leaning across the center console. I saw the shape before I understood what it was. Something dark extending out the window. Pointed at us. A gun. I slammed the brakes. The sedan shot past us. I cranked the wheel hard and pulled onto the shoulder. Gravel sprayed everywhere. My car fishtailed, but I kept it under control. I killed the headlights. Killed the engine. We sat there in complete darkness on the side of the road while the sedan's taillights disappeared ahead. Mateo was breathing hard, shaking. Was that a gun? Did they have a gun? I don't know. But I did know. I'd seen it. I just didn't want to say it out loud. We need to call someone. I grabbed my phone. No signal. It's here and we were too far out. I tried anyway. Held it up near the window, watched the bars flicker and die. Mateo was starting to cry, quiet, trying to hide it. What do we do? I didn't answer because I didn't know. I kept watching the road ahead, waiting to see if the taillights would reappear, if they'd realize we'd stopped and come back for us. 1 minute passed. 2. Nothing but darkness and the sound of Mateo's breathing. I started the engine. Mateo flinched. What are you doing? We can't stay here. What if they're waiting? Then we'll see them first. I pulled back onto the road. Headlights on, I kept it at 40, slow enough to react. Fast enough to run if I had to. Every curve felt like an ambush waiting to happen. Every shadow looked like a parked car. Mateo kept checking behind us. He'd say, I don't see them. Good. 3 miles later, we passed a farmhouse. Lights on inside, truck in the driveway. I thought about stopping, knocking on the door, but something stopped me. The way the sedan had appeared out of nowhere, the way they'd followed without lights like they'd been tracking us. We kept going. The town finally appeared. Streetlights, a gas station, a diner that was closed. I pulled into the gas station and parked under the brightest light. I tried my phone again, 1 bar. I called our dad. He answered on the second ring, voice rough with sleep. Where are you? We're okay. We're at the Chevron off Route 12. What happened? I told him. All of it, the car, the gun, the chase. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, there was a long silence. Stay there, don't move, I'm coming. He hung up, and then Mateo and I sat in the car with the doors locked and waited. 15 minutes felt like an hour. When our dad's truck finally pulled in, he got out and came straight to my window. I rolled it down. He looked at me, then at Mateo. His face was hard. You're both okay? We nodded. Did you get a plate number? No, it was too dark. What about the driver? The windows were tinted, I couldn't see. He walked around the car slowly, checking every panel, every edge. When he came back to my window, his jaw was tight. There's a scrape on your passenger door, paint transfer, dark gray. I hadn't noticed. I got out and looked. He was right. A long mark just above the handle. Fresh. They hit you, he said. I didn't feel it. You wouldn't, not at that speed. Mateo got out too. He looked at the scrape. Then at our dad. Guess what does that mean? It means they made contact. Deliberately. I felt something drop in my chest. Why would they do that? Our dad didn't answer right away. He looked down the road, back toward where we'd come from. Get in my truck, both of you. What about my car? Leave it, I'll get it tomorrow. We climbed into his truck. He drove us home without saying much. I kept expecting him to yell, to lecture Mateo about the party or me about not calling sooner. But he didn't. He just kept checking the mirrors, watching. When we got home, he made us lock every door, every window. He didn't go to bed. I heard him moving around downstairs all night, checking things. The next morning, he went back for my car alone. When he got home 2 hours later, his face told me something was wrong before he said a word. Mita, what happened? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I found this tucked behind your driver's side mirror. He handed it to me. I opened it. 4 words in block letters. Slower next time, Mateo. My brother's name, not mine. Mateo's. The air went out of the room. Mateo stared at the note. His hands started shaking. How do they know my name? Nobody answered because we didn't know. They'd been close enough to hear us talking, or they'd seen something. A school sticker on the bumper, a registration in the windshield. It didn't matter how. What mattered was they knew. We filed a police report, gave them everything, the route, the time, the description. They said they'd increase patrols. Look into it. But I could see it in the officer's eyes. without a plate or a clear description. There wasn't much they could do. And they didn't find anything. 3 weeks later, Mateo was walking home from school, middle of the day, residential street. He called me from a neighbor's porch. He could barely get the words out. "They're here." "Who?" "The car, the same one. It followed me." "Where are you?" He gave me the address. I told him to stay inside, call the police. I was already in my car. I got there in 6 minutes. So did 2 patrol cars. The sedan was gone. Mateo said it had slowed down next to him, stayed there for a few seconds, then drove off when he ran. No one else saw it. No cameras caught it. Just Mateo's word. We moved 4 months later. Different state, different lives. Mateo doesn't walk anywhere alone now. He's 21, in college 3 hours away. But he still calls me when he's driving at night, just to have someone on the line, just in case. I think about that night constantly, about the choices I made. Speeding up instead of pulling over, taking that route instead of the main highway, covering for Mateo in the first place. But mostly I think about the note. About the fact that they knew his name, that they'd been close enough to learn it, to decide he mattered. And I think about the fact that they're still out there, that we never found them, that the police never even came close, because people like that don't just stop. They don't forget. They wait. They watch. And when the person they've marked finally slows down, finally lets their guard drop, they'll be there, just like they promised. My wife's name was Jenna. I need to say that first because I don't talk about her much anymore. People get uncomfortable when I do. They hear the way my voice changes and they offer sympathy that doesn't reach the place where it hurts. So I stopped bringing her up. But she was real. She mattered. And what happened to her started because I honked a horn. We were driving to her sister's house, Saturday afternoon in October. Traffic was heavy but moving. I was in the left lane, doing about 50, when the car in front of me just stopped. No brake lights, no warning, just a complete stop in the middle of the highway. I slammed my brakes and barely avoided hitting him. My heart kicked against my ribs. Jenna grabbed the door handle. "What's he doing?" I didn't know. The car ahead wasn't moving. Cars behind me were swerving into the right lane, honking, barely missing me. I looked at the driver. Young guy, maybe 25, and he was looking down at something in his lap. Phone, probably. I honked. One short tap. He didn't move. I honked again. Longer this time, frustrated. He looked up, made eye contact with me in his rear-view mirror, and smiled. Then he started driving, slow, maybe 10 miles per hour in the fast lane, on a 65-mile-per-hour highway. Jenna touched my arm. "Just go around him." I tried, signaled right, and started to merge. He drifted right with me, blocked me completely. I moved back left. He moved left. "What is he doing?" Jenna's voice had an edge now. "I don't know." I tried the shoulder. He swerved onto it, nearly hit a sign. I fell back and he slowed even more. Maybe 5 miles per hour. A line of cars was piling up behind us, horns blaring, lights flashing. Jenna pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police." "Wait, for what?" "He's gonna cause a wreck." She was right. But something about escalating felt dangerous, like it would make things worse. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe because he was still watching me in his mirror. Maybe because of that smile. The exit was coming up. Half a mile, I decided to take it. Get off this highway, let him terrorize someone else. I signaled early, merged right carefully. He didn't follow. He stayed in the left lane, still crawling. I I felt my shoulders drop as we curved down the exit ramp. Jenna let out a breath. Thank God. I checked the mirror as we approached the bottom. He was still up there on the highway, still going 5 miles per hour, and then at the last possible second, he cut across all 3 lanes and took the exit behind us. Jenna saw it. He followed us. Maybe he was getting off here anyway. But I knew better. So did she. The exit fed into a 4-way stop. I went straight. He went straight. I turned left onto a residential street lined with trees. He turned left. I made 2 more random turns. Right, then right again. He stayed behind us, not tailgating, just back far enough to be unmistakable. Jenna's hand was shaking when she unlocked her phone. I'm calling, okay? She dialed. I heard the ring. A dispatcher answered and Jenna explained where we were, what was happening. The woman asked if we felt in immediate danger. Jenna looked at me. I don't know, I said. She repeated it. The dispatcher told her to drive to the nearest police station and gave her the address. 4 minutes away. I headed there. The car stayed behind us. Same distance, same speed. It just when I slowed at a stop sign, he slowed. When I sped up, he matched me exactly. It felt rehearsed, practiced. Jenna stayed on the line. Her voice was steady, but I could see her leg bouncing. She always did that when she was scared. The police station appeared. Small brick building. 2 cruisers out front. I pulled into the lot and parked near the entrance. Jenna ended the call. We both looked back. The car had stopped across the street. Engine running. The driver was watching us. Should we get out? Jenna asked. Yeah, let's go inside. We opened the doors and started walking. I glanced back once. The driver's door opened. The young guy stepped out. Same smile. He leaned against his car and crossed his arms. Casual, patient. We went inside. An officer listened to our story, took notes, asked if we wanted to file a report. Is he still out there? I asked. The officer looked through the front window. I don't see anyone. We looked too. The street was empty. He was gone. The officer said there wasn't much they could do. No plate number, no actual crime committed. He suggested we wait 30 minutes before leaving. Let things settle. We sat in the lobby. 25 minutes. When we finally walked back to the car, everything seemed normal. Quiet street, empty sidewalks. I unlocked the doors. We got in. I locked them immediately. Started the engine and pulled out of the lot. We made it exactly 2 blocks. He was parked on a side street, waiting. He pulled out as we passed and fell in behind us again. Jenna made a sound in her throat, small, broken. He waited for us. I turned around, drove straight back to the station. He followed. I pulled into the same spot. He stopped across the street in the exact same place. This time 2 officers came out with us. They walked toward his car. He didn't run. He rolled down his window and talked to them. Calm, reasonable. After a few minutes, one of the officers walked back. He says you cut him off on the highway. Says he's trying to get your insurance information. That's not what happened, I said. He also says you've been following him, harassing him. Jenna's voice went up. He followed us here, twice. We have a witness, the dispatcher. The officer nodded. I understand, but it's your word against his, and we can't arrest someone for driving on public roads. So what do we do? Go home, take a different route. If he follows again, call immediately. We left. Took back roads through neighborhoods we didn't know. I checked the mirror every 3 seconds. He wasn't there. least not where we could see him. We got home, and I pulled into the garage, hit the button to close the door before we even got out. We sat there for a minute, engine ticking as it cooled. "I don't feel safe," Jenna said quietly. "We're home. It's over." I wanted to believe that. I needed to. 2 days later, Jenna was driving to work. Morning commute. She called me from the car. I could hear it in her voice immediately. "He's behind me." My stomach dropped. "Who?" "The same guy, same car, I'm positive." "Where are you?" "On Randolph, coming up on the bridge." "Drive to your office. There's security there. People, don't stop." "Okay." Her breathing was fast, shallow. "He's getting closer." "Jenna, just keep going. You're almost there." "I am. I'm going." She stayed on the line. I heard the turn signal clicking, the hum of traffic around her, and then I heard the impact. Metal on metal. Loud. Violent. Jenna screamed, and the phone went dead. I called back. No answer. Again. Voicemail. I grabbed my keys and ran. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped them twice. I called 911 from the car, told them everything. They said units were responding. I drove toward Randolph, doing 70 through residential streets, blowing stop signs. I saw the lights before I saw anything else. Ambulance, fire truck, 3 patrol cars, and in the middle of it all, Jenna's car. Crumpled against the concrete barrier, the entire driver's side caved in like paper. I ran. An officer grabbed me. I tried to push past. He held firm. "Sir, you need to stay back." "That's my wife." Something changed in his face. "Let me get someone." A paramedic came over. Older woman. She put a hand on my arm. "She's alive. They're getting her out now." I watched them cut through the door, strap her to a backboard, load her into the ambulance. Her eyes were closed, blood on her face. I climbed in with her, held her hand. She didn't squeeze back. Skull fracture, internal bleeding, 4 broken ribs, collapsed lung. They operated that night, again 2 days later. She was in the ICU for 13 days. When she finally woke up, she didn't remember the accident, didn't remember calling me. The doctors said that was normal. Traumatic brain injuries often erase the moments before impact, but I remember. The police found the other car 3 blocks away, abandoned in an alley, stolen plates, wiped clean, no prints, no witnesses. What they said the damage patterns indicated a high-speed rear-end collision. Deliberate. He'd rammed her from behind and forced her into the barrier. They never found him, never identified him, never came close. Jenna's better now, physically at least. She walks with a slight limp, gets headaches that last for days. But she's alive. She doesn't drive anymore, can't. The panic attacks start as soon as she gets behind the wheel. I take her everywhere now, to work, to appointments, to her sister's house. She doesn't like highways. Doesn't like being in the car when there's another vehicle too close behind us. Sometimes she wakes up at 3 in the morning and asks if all the doors are locked, if the security system is armed, if I'm sure no one followed us home. I tell her yes. I tell her we're safe. But I check the locks 3 times before bed. I installed cameras around the house. I vary our routes, and I still see that car sometimes. Or I think I do. Same make, same color, and every time my chest tightens and I slow down and I watch until it passes, because I know what I did. I honked at someone who didn't think I had the right. I challenged someone who saw that challenge as a debt that needed collecting, and Jenna paid for it. I think about that moment all the time. That single second when I put my hand on the horn, when I decided his behavior needed correcting. If I'd just waited, if I'd just gone around him when I had the chance, if I'd swallowed my frustration and let it go, Jenna would still drive herself to work. She'd still sleep through the night, and I wouldn't spend every trip to the grocery store scanning parking lots for a car I've seen 1,000 times in my nightmares. Because people like that don't disappear. They don't move on. They're still out there, still driving, still waiting for someone to look at them wrong, to honk, to exist in a way that offends them. And when they find that person, they don't forget. They don't let it go. They follow. They wait. They watch for the moment when you're alone, when you're vulnerable, when there's no one around to stop what happens next. And then they take something from you that you'll never get back. The road doesn't belong to people like me anymore. People who follow the rules, who signal, who try to do the right thing. It belongs to them, to the ones who decide that a horn is a threat, that a merge is an insult, cheer that your existence in their lane is reason enough to destroy your life. Jenna knows that now. So do I. And every time I see a car that looks like his, every time someone gets too close behind us, I'm reminded that he's still out there, still driving, still angry, still waiting for the next person who makes the mistake of thinking the roads are for everyone.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories.